I don't have the biology of humans, she whispered. I smiled. Dr. Elias Monroe adjusted his glasses and peered through the viewport of the observation deck. Outside, the colony sprawled across the rocky surface of Kepler 452c, its silver structures glinting under the twin suns. The air was thin, even in the sealed habitat, and the planet's wind carried fine red dust that clung stubbornly to every surface. Humanity had learned to survive here, but every day was a challenge. Every day, they reminded themselves how fragile life was on a planet not their own. Elias had spent years preparing for this moment, studying alien biology from afar, scanning signals, analyzing genetic codes. Yet, nothing in his books, simulations, or dreams had prepared him for what appeared on the landing platform that morning. The shuttle doors hissed open, and a figure emerged. She walked with a grace that seemed almost unnatural, as if the gravity of Kepler 452c barely touched her. Her form was humanoid, but her skin shimmered faintly, like liquid silver under sunlight. Patterns moved across her arms in flowing lines that no human could naturally form. Her eyes were large, multifaceted, and held a depth that made Elias' pulse quicken. I don't have the biology of humans, she whispered. Elias blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. She spoke in perfect English, her voice soft but clear. Yet there was something in the resonance, a subtle hum that vibrated through the air, almost musical. I know, he said, and then smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a patronizing smile, but a smile of wonder. The words hung in the air between them, simple and profound. She was acknowledging a difference, yet there was no fear in her tone, only honesty. Her name, as she would soon tell him, was Lyra, and she was, by every measure, alien. Her biology did not conform to the rules humans had learned through millennia of observing life on Earth. She did not breathe in the way humans did. Her heartbeat, if she had one, did not match the rhythms of any known species, yet she was alive and she was aware. Elias stepped forward cautiously, keeping his hands visible. Protocol demanded caution, but curiosity demanded closer observation. We are scientists, he said. We study life. We want to understand you. Lyra shattered that assumption effortlessly. She was not human, yet she sought understanding. She sought to see humanity as it truly was, without fear, without pretense. The colony's security team remained tense, their hands hovering over the control panels that could release tranquilizers in a moment. Elias waved them down, his voice calm but firm. She is not a threat. Not yet. Let her speak. Let us learn. Protocol demanded a full health scan, even if she was not human. Machines whirred, lights flashed, and the readings were unlike anything Elias had ever seen. Her cellular structure was resilient, almost adaptive. Her body responded to stimuli in ways that no Earth species did. When the scanner tested for oxygen consumption, her readings were erratic. Yet she remained calm, serene, even as if she expected humans to be curious, not fearful. Do you feel pain? Elias asked, more out of habit than necessity. Lyra considered him for a moment. I feel sensation. I understand harm, but not as you do. My body adapts. My limits are different. Here was a being who could survive environments humans could not, who could endure extremes of temperature, pressure, radiation, who could, perhaps, teach humanity lessons about resilience and adaptation that no machine or experiment could. But it was not her biology that fascinated him most. It was her curiosity. She asked about human tools, machines, and history. She wanted to know why humans built cities in harsh places, why they risked their lives exploring unknown planets, why they persisted despite knowing how fragile life was. They survive because they must, Elias said quietly, and because they hope, and because they can imagine something beyond themselves. Imagination, hope, these are powerful forces. She paused. I wish my kind understood these. Over the next few hours, Elias introduced her to the colony, carefully managing the reactions of the colonists. Some were awestruck, others fearful. Children pressed their faces to the viewing windows, giggling at the patterns that danced across her skin, unaware of the tension her presence might cause. Elder scientists whispered among themselves, debating whether she represented opportunity or danger. Lyra moved among them with quiet grace. She studied human anatomy, marveled at machines, asked questions that were sometimes too simple, sometimes too complex. She asked why humans laughed, why they cried, why they built art that served no purpose but beauty. She wanted to understand everything, not just survival, but culture, emotion, morality. Elias found himself drawn to her curiosity, her openness. There was something deeply human in her questions, even if her body was not human. She reflected humanity back to him, but with clarity that humans often lacked. She saw patterns, connections, possibilities. She could have been a mirror showing humanity itself, stripped of assumptions. That evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the colony, Elias and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the settlement. The red dusk glowed softly in the fading light. "You fear my kind," she said quietly, almost to herself. "Do you fear what I might do? Let us learn from each other." This being was not human, yet she could teach humans what it truly meant to survive, to adapt, to think, and to feel. The colony slept fitfully that night, unaware of the subtle energy fields that Lyra generated to study her surroundings, to gather data, to adapt to the human world. She watched over them quietly, learning not only biology but humanity itself. Elias could not sleep. He returned to the observation deck, staring at the stars. Somewhere out there, countless life forms existed, but here, in this small human colony, a single alien presence had changed everything. It was not conquest, not fear, not strength. It was curiosity, intelligence, and the courage to seek understanding. And for the first time in a long while, Elias believed that humanity's greatest strength might not be in its biology or its machines, but in its capacity to embrace the unknown with hope, with courage, and with an open mind. Lyra's whisper echoed in his mind as he turned from the viewport to the sleeping colony. "I don't have the biology of humans." The night passed quietly, but a new day promised challenges, discoveries, and perhaps the first step toward a partnership that could redefine what it meant to be human, and what it meant to be something more. The sun rose over Kepler 452c, casting long streaks of red and gold across the rocky surface. Elias stood at the edge of the observation deck, watching the colony stir to life. Workers moved efficiently, machines hummed, and drones floated silently in the thin air. Yet amidst the ordinary morning activity, Lyra's presence brought a new rhythm to the colony. She was no longer just a visitor. She had become a source of curiosity and subtle inspiration. Elias met her at the entrance to the central laboratory. "Today, we'll begin something different," he said. "I want you to see how humans solve problems when survival depends on it." Various markers indicated areas where environmental hazards were highest: steep cliffs, high radiation zones, and regions where storms struck unpredictably. Elias pointed to one of the marked zones. "This canyon is dangerous. Equipment fails there, drones lose signal, yet supplies must get through. Humans have found ways to adapt. I want to see how you would approach it." Her body seemed to hum faintly, patterns swirling across her skin in rapid, intricate motions. "I could adjust energy fields to lift objects without touch, but you would not have that technology widely available. Humans rely on teamwork, multiple small units moving in shifts supporting each other, pathways reinforced with simple materials to prevent collapse, timing coordinated with storms, intelligence and observation, not strength alone." Lyra had understood the core principle instinctively. "Exactly," he said. "Humans are clever, they improvise, they turn limits into advantages." She suggested small adjustments to bridge supports, subtle changes to weight distribution, and timing strategies that humans had overlooked. The team implemented her ideas, and the results were remarkably successful. Watching from the canyon's edge, Elias felt a surge of pride, not just in human ingenuity but in the collaboration he saw before him. Lyra, alien though she was, had become a partner. Her biology allowed her to endure conditions humans could not, and her mind offered insights humans had not considered. Together, they achieved something neither could accomplish alone. After the exercise, Elias led Lyra back to the colony. As they walked through the corridors, she asked questions about human culture. "Why do humans sing?" she asked, pausing near a communal dining hall where workers gathered. "The sound is not necessary for survival. Expression, a way to communicate beyond words. I understand. Humans use more than logic to survive. They use meaning." A violent electrical storm, rare but devastating when it struck, threatened a small outpost conducting geological surveys. Drones could not operate in the high winds, and human teams risked injury if they attempted evacuation. Elias turned to Lyra. "This is your first real test in the field. Can you help them?" The storm surged, but her presence stabilized the immediate area, neutralizing some of the electrical spikes. Elias coordinated evacuation teams, guiding them through safer paths while Lyra shielded equipment and monitored environmental hazards. The humans watched in amazement. Here was an alien being, physically different in every way, yet working seamlessly with them, protecting their lives without hesitation. Some of the engineers whispered, calling her a miracle. Others, more cautious, noted her potential as a weapon. Elias ignored the murmurs. His focus was on survival and learning. By late afternoon, the storm subsided. The outpost was intact, the human team safe and equipment largely undamaged. Elias approached Lyra, exhaustion written on his face. "You did it. You saved them. That is humanity. Life is precious, and intelligence must serve it, not destroy it. You know, your presence here, it changes things. Humans may fear the unknown, but they respect courage and intelligence. You've earned both." They survive and they thrive. She had learned quickly, thought creatively, and acted decisively. Humanity had survived countless challenges, but here, in the presence of something entirely different, they had discovered a new strength. The ability to collaborate with the unknown, to integrate differences into survival and success. That evening, the colony gathered for a small celebration. It was not a party in the traditional sense. The work on Kepler 452c never truly stopped, but humans had a quiet way of marking victories. They shared meals, told stories of past triumphs, and laughed softly. Lyra watched from the corner, patterns shifting in response to sound and movement, absorbing everything. A small child approached her, holding a mechanical toy that whirred and clicked. "Do you want to see this?" the child asked. Lyra bent slightly, her face close to the toy. "Yes," she said, "I wish to understand." Lyra looked at the child, and for a brief moment, Elias could swear the alien being's patterns reflected amusement. "Humans find joy in simple things," Elias said softly, standing nearby. "It is not always survival. Sometimes it is just life. It is curiosity, learning, and joy." As night fell over Kepler 452c, Elias and Lyra returned to the observation deck. The twin moons cast a soft light over the red landscape, and the colony glowed faintly like a cluster of fireflies. "You adapt quickly," Elias said. "Humans can be unpredictable, but you handled the storm with intelligence and care." "I did not know intelligence could be so intertwined with emotion and choice." "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we explore further. There is much to learn and many challenges ahead." But in Lyra, he had glimpsed a force that could amplify human strength, not through weapons or dominance, but through understanding, collaboration, and the shared pursuit of knowledge. In that moment, he knew that survival was no longer just a human trait. It was a shared one. And so, the first real day of their partnership ended, leaving both human and alien ready to face the unknown side by side. The morning sun had barely risen over Kepler 452c when alarms echoed through the colony. Sensors on the northern perimeter detected movement. unusual, fast, and coordinated. Elias rushed to the command center, his heart racing. Lyra followed silently, her patterns shifting rapidly across her skin, reflecting heightened awareness. "What is it?" she asked, her voice calm but focused. "Something hostile," Elias replied. "We don't know what yet, but they are moving fast, likely a predatory species native to this region. They've attacked scouting teams before, but never this close to the colony." Automated defenses activated, and human teams mobilized with practiced precision. Yet the terrain was unforgiving: cliffs, narrow passes, and loose red dust that could send a team tumbling if they were not careful. Drones scouted ahead but were quickly disabled by the strange electromagnetic pulses the predators emitted. Elias turned to Lyra. "This is your chance to show what you've learned. Can you help us?" Their limbs were long and sinewy, claws digging into rock, eyes glinting with intelligence. They had been observing humans for days, possibly weeks, and now they tested the colony's defenses. Lyra moved between humans and the attackers, creating a barrier of electromagnetic energy. The creatures recoiled, hissing in frustration, unable to penetrate the invisible field. Humans took advantage of the distraction, using non-lethal containment devices to herd the creatures away from the colony. Elias watched, amazed. Lyra's biology allowed her to survive where humans could not. Her energy manipulation was subtle but effective, disrupting the attackers without harming them unnecessarily. She was precise, calculating, and efficient, qualities humans admired, even in themselves. As the battle continued, Lyra adjusted her pulses to counter the predator's adaptations. They began to change tactics, coordinating differently, trying to find weak points. But Lyra anticipated these moves, analyzing patterns faster than any human could. "Elias," she said, her voice carrying urgency, "they will attempt a flanking maneuver near the eastern ridge. Humans may be vulnerable there." After the encounter, the colony assessed the damage. Equipment was scratched, minor injuries reported, but no lives were lost. Elias walked through the camp, watching humans care for one another, treat wounds, and repair machinery. Lyra observed quietly, patterns shifting in a rhythm Elias had come to recognize as fascination. "They value life," she said softly, "even those who are not like them. Even their machines, their tools, they preserve them. They are cautious yet brave. Humans persist because they can imagine success beyond present danger." Scouts were sent to monitor the perimeter, and Lyra accompanied them, her abilities allowing her to detect environmental changes and subtle traces left by the predators. She taught humans how to read patterns in the terrain, how to anticipate movement, how to use energy and observation to supplement human strategy. By evening, the threat had been contained. The colony breathed a collective sigh of relief, knowing they had survived another trial. Elias and Lyra returned to the observation deck, overlooking the red plains. The twin moons began to rise, casting silver light over the rocks. "You performed well today," Elias said. "Humans could not have done it alone. We rely on each other, yes, but sometimes we need insight that is outside our normal understanding. You provided that. And that is why humans have survived against odds that would destroy other species. We learn, we improvise, we collaborate. That is our biology and our spirit." Humans worked tirelessly, showing determination and ingenuity in ways that impressed Lyra. She had never seen a species so willing to combine knowledge, emotion, and strategy so seamlessly. One evening, as the sun set, Elias and Lyra sat together in the laboratory. A holographic display projected the colony and surrounding terrain, showing possible threats and environmental challenges. Lyra studied the pattern silently. "Do humans ever fail?" she asked. "All the time," Elias said. "But failure is part of learning. Humans do not see failure as the end. It is a step toward improvement, toward understanding. We persist because we imagine a better outcome and work to achieve it. These are not biological traits alone. They are choices. Humans choose to survive, to adapt, to protect, to learn. That is fascinating. Yet I understand something of their nature. I admire it. Scouts reported that the predators were gathering again, this time in larger numbers and with more coordination. The colony faced a threat unlike any before, one that would test both human ingenuity and Lyra's alien abilities to their limits. Teams were assembled quickly. Elias briefed them, pointing to likely approach routes and potential hazards. Lyra hovered nearby, analyzing terrain, predicting predator behavior, and advising on defensive placement. Humans moved with precision, setting traps, fortifying barriers, and coordinating shifts to ensure continuous surveillance. When the predators arrived, their strategy was more sophisticated. They attempted simultaneous attacks from multiple directions, testing the humans' coordination. But humans, now trained to work alongside Lyra, responded with swift adaptations. Lyra created localized energy shields, disrupted predator coordination, and guided humans to exploit weaknesses in the attacker's formation. The battle was tense. Humans demonstrated remarkable ingenuity, improvising devices and strategies in real time. Lyra's abilities amplified their effectiveness, allowing them to act decisively without unnecessary risk. By the end of the encounter, the predators retreated once more, and the colony emerged largely unscathed. Elias walked through the aftermath, watching humans treat minor injuries and repair equipment. Lyra followed silently, observing, analyzing, learning. "They are extraordinary," she said softly. "Their biology is limited, their bodies fragile, yet their minds, their choices, they compensate. They adapt, they overcome, they survive. Not strength alone, not speed alone, not biology alone, but mind, heart, and spirit combined. This partnership, it has potential beyond anything I imagined." Now with Lyra, they could face it with insight, creativity, and a new kind of alliance. Together, they had survived storms, threats, and intelligent predators. Together, they would face whatever the universe had in store. And as the twin moons cast silver light across the colony, Elias realized that survival was no longer just a human trait. It was a shared one, strengthened by collaboration, understanding, and mutual respect. Tomorrow promised new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps new opportunities to demonstrate what humanity could achieve when it embraced the unknown without fear. And with Lyra by their side, there was no limit to what they might accomplish. The sky over Kepler 452c was dark with thick, rolling clouds, unusually dense for this region. The colony's sensors had been alerting the command center for hours. Elias paced in the control room, tension etched on his face. Lyra hovered beside him, patterns flickering like liquid metal as she analyzed the storm approaching from the northern ridge. "This is no ordinary storm," she said quietly, her voice carrying both concern and calculation. "Electrical activity is extreme. Winds will exceed tolerable limits for unprotected humans. Structures could be damaged, supply routes disrupted. Risk to personnel is high. We have to act." Lyra moved ahead of them, scanning the terrain and emitting low-level energy fields that cleared debris and countered extreme currents of wind. Her alien biology allowed her to float effortlessly through conditions that would have thrown even the most experienced human off balance. Elias followed, coordinating human efforts from the observation deck and relaying instructions via secure communication lines. Every few minutes, his voice crackled through the comm system, guiding teams around falling rocks, gusting winds, and sudden lightning strikes. As the storm intensified, the first challenge appeared. A supply convoy trapped on a narrow ridge, unable to move due to unstable rocks and violent gusts. A sudden strike of lightning shattered part of the ridge ahead, sending a plume of red dust into the air. Human teams froze, unsure how to proceed without risking lives. Lyra hovered over the ridge, analyzing every detail with extraordinary speed. "If we create a temporary field here," she said, pointing with a delicate hand, We can stabilize the path and reduce the effect of wind and debris, but timing must be precise. The result was remarkable. The ridge became passable, allowing the convoy to move slowly but safely. One human engineer, a young woman named Mara, glanced at Lyra in awe. "How are you doing that?" she shouted over the wind. Lyra's patterns shifted in a subtle rhythm. "I adapt. I analyze. I protect. I do what humans cannot, in order to help them succeed." Lyra reacted instantly. She hovered over the flames, her body glowing faintly as her energy field expanded. The fire bent around her, unable to reach the humans or the equipment. Sparks fizzled in the air, redirected harmlessly into the ground. The humans stared, awestruck, as the alien being protected them with a precision that seemed almost magical. When the fire finally died, Elias exhaled in relief. "You saved them," he said, his voice filled with both gratitude and amazement. Lyra's pattern slowed, softening as she hovered. "I did not save them alone. Humans remained calm, followed protocols, and adapted to the danger. I merely assisted. You do not rely on one ability alone. You combine many: observation, calculation, courage, and determination. Not just biology, but spirit, courage, and intellect combined." By nightfall, the storm had passed, leaving the colony battered but intact. Equipment needed repair, and minor injuries were treated, but no lives were lost. Elias walked through the camp, observing humans helping one another, offering support and encouragement. Lyra followed silently, patterns reflecting both curiosity and admiration. "You humans," she said softly, "your biology is fragile, yet your minds, your choices, they compensate. You are clever, persistent, and resilient. It is extraordinary. That is what makes us remarkable. Not because we are invincible, but because we persist, even when the odds are against us. We face danger, we adapt, we learn. That is humanity." Scouts reported movement patterns that suggested advanced tactics, almost strategic thinking. This was not just a threat, it was a challenge to human ingenuity. Elias gathered the leadership team and Lyra for a briefing. "We face a new predator," he said. "Faster, smarter, and more coordinated. Humans will need to use every skill they have: observation, planning, and adaptability, and Lyra's unique abilities. Coordination is critical." Yet humans responded with ingenuity, using environmental advantages, improvised devices, and coordinated tactics. Lyra supplemented their efforts, disrupting predator coordination with subtle energy manipulations. The battle was tense and relentless. Humans adapted on the fly, using obstacles, gravity shifts, and makeshift tools to counter the predator's advanced strategies. Lyra's energy fields created safe zones, allowing humans to maneuver without injury. Together, they outsmarted the attackers, exploiting every advantage, predicting every move. After hours of engagement, the predators retreated. The colony had survived, not through brute force, but through intelligence, teamwork, and adaptation. Elias walked among his people, observing repairs, tending to minor injuries, and witnessing the quiet pride on every face. Lyra hovered nearby, studying the humans' coordinated efforts with fascination. "They do not give up," she said softly. "They are resilient, adaptive, and clever. They survive because they combine intelligence, cooperation, and courage. This is remarkable. I admire it. I will continue to learn from them as they learn from me." As night fell, Elias and Lyra returned to the observation deck. The twin moons cast silver light across the red plains, illuminating the colony's structures, safe zones, and ongoing repairs. "You adapt quickly," Elias said. "And humans, they adapt too. They survive because they learn, because they act, and because they persist against all odds. Humans are extraordinary. I see their courage, intelligence, and resilience. I understand why they endure, why they thrive. They survive not by biology alone, but by choice, by heart, and by mind." Yet with humans' ingenuity, courage, and willingness to collaborate with someone like Lyra, they could face the unknown with confidence. Tomorrow, he said quietly, we prepare for what comes next. There are more threats, more discoveries, and more lessons to learn. But we face them together, human and alien, mind and biology working as one. Humans will adapt, and together, we will survive. In the quiet night with Lyra by his side, he felt certain of one thing. Survival was no longer merely a human trait. It was a shared force, strengthened by understanding, collaboration, and the recognition that intelligence, courage, and hope could overcome even the greatest of challenges. The stars above stretched endlessly, yet within the colony, light, life, and determination shone brighter than ever. Humanity had faced the unknown before and survived. Now, with Lyra, they would rise higher, learn faster, and discover what it truly meant to endure together. The morning light on Kepler 452c was soft, golden, and calm, a rare peace after the storms, predators, and chaos of recent days. Elias stood on the observation deck, watching the colony awaken. For the first time, the settlement seemed to breathe with quiet confidence. Humans moved with purpose, repairing structures, checking equipment, and organizing supplies, all with a calm focus that reflected the lessons they had learned from their trials. Lyra hovered beside him, patterns shifting gently across her skin in a rhythm that Elias had come to understand as her way of expressing thought. "The humans are resilient," she said softly. "They adapt quickly. Their biology is fragile, yet their minds, their choices, their courage, it compensates. I have observed much, and I continue to learn. Not just because they survive, but because they thrive in the face of danger, because they find solutions when none seem possible, and because they never give up." The colony had transformed. It was no longer just a human outpost. It was a testament to adaptability, collaboration, and courage. And Lyra had become an essential part of that transformation. "Elias," Lyra said, her voice careful and precise, "the predators are retreating, yet sensors detect distant movement. Another species may be approaching. I can sense patterns similar to previous encounters, yet more organized, more strategic." Lyra projected an energy map, highlighting safe paths, potential hazards, and likely approaches of any incoming species. Her precision allowed humans to anticipate events with a clarity they had never experienced before. "We must prepare for contact," Elias said. "Not just defense, but understanding. Humans do not conquer blindly. We adapt, we learn, and we communicate. Not strength alone, but intellect, morality, and determination. Life is precious, and we act to preserve it. This is the true test. Humans must demonstrate their ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to work together. You will assist, but the decisions, the choices, must come from them. I understand the balance between guidance and autonomy." The aliens tested defenses with careful precision, probing weak points and shifting formation. Humans responded swiftly, adapting to every move, improvising tactics in real time. Lyra's guidance amplified their effectiveness, but it was human decision-making, ingenuity, and courage that determined success. Hours passed with intense concentration. The humans anticipated attacks, adjusted positions, and countered with coordinated maneuvers. Lyra disrupted energy pulses and hazards without endangering humans, allowing them to act freely and decisively. Each victory, each adaptation, strengthened confidence and cohesion within the colony. At one point, a sudden environmental hazard, a collapse of part of the northern ridge, threatened the humans' defensive line. Elias shouted instructions to redirect teams, but the hazard moved faster than expected. Lyra reacted instantly, creating a protective energy field that stabilized the collapsing rocks and shielded the humans beneath. "You saved them," Elias said once the danger passed. Lyra shook her head slightly. "I assisted. Humans acted with intelligence and courage. They would have found a way. I merely enhanced their abilities to avoid unnecessary harm." They tested, observed, but ultimately acknowledged the colony's strength without unnecessary conflict. Elias walked among the teams, observing humans repairing equipment, sharing supplies, and supporting one another. Lyra followed silently, patterns reflecting curiosity, understanding, and admiration. They endure because they act, Lyra said softly. They survive because they learn, adapt, and persist. They thrive because intelligence, courage, and compassion guide their choices. I understand them. That is the essence of HFY. Humanity thriving in the face of the unknown, guided by intellect, courage, and heart. You have adapted well, Elias said. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but they survive because they anticipate, learn, and cooperate. That is why you have succeeded alongside them. I admire them. The night passed quietly, and the colony prepared for the next day. Lessons from the encounters were documented, strategies refined, and humans continued to teach Lyra about culture, creativity, and emotion. She learned not only about survival but also about hope, joy, and collaboration, the very qualities that made humans exceptional. At dawn, Elias and Lyra stood on the balcony overlooking the colony. The red plains stretched endlessly and distant mountains shimmered in the morning light. Tomorrow, Elias said quietly, humans will continue to explore, adapt, and thrive, and you will continue to learn from them. Together we face the unknown, not with fear but with courage, intelligence, and hope. We will thrive. As the twin suns rose higher, Elias felt a sense of hope stronger than ever before. The universe was vast, full of dangers and mysteries, yet humanity had shown time and again that they could endure. And now, with Lyra, they had expanded that endurance, gaining insight, perspective, and abilities that complemented their own. Humans had always faced the unknown with courage, but Lyra's presence had revealed a new truth. Strength was not merely biological, nor survival merely instinct. Intelligence, cooperation, courage, and hope were what defined them. And when they embraced these qualities fully, alongside a being like Lyra, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The colony thrived under the light of the twin suns. Supplies were organized, defenses maintained, and humans continued their work with determination and skill. Lyra observed, learned, and acted alongside them, creating a partnership that transcended biology, culture, and species. Elias looked out over the plains, feeling a profound certainty. Humanity's journey was far from over. They would face new challenges, new threats, and new discoveries, but their spirit, intelligent, courageous, and adaptive, would guide them. And Lyra, now fully integrated into the colony's life, would walk alongside them, a testament to collaboration, understanding, and the enduring strength of humans. Finally, Lyra turned to Elias, her patterns reflecting soft light in the early morning. I do not have the biology of humans, she said, but I have learned their ways, their courage, and their choices. I understand them, and I will continue to learn. That is what humanity does, and always will do. And now, with Lyra, they had proven that survival, intelligence, and courage were not limited to humans alone, but could be amplified through understanding, collaboration, and the shared pursuit of knowledge. Together, they faced the universe, confident in their ability to endure, adapt, and thrive. Humanity's story continued, not just through biology or instinct, but through choice, courage, intelligence, and hope. And in Lyra they had found a mirror of their spirit, a partner, and a witness to what made humans truly remarkable. The universe stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries, wonders, and challenges. Yet the colony stood as proof. When humans face the unknown with courage, intelligence, and heart, and when they embrace collaboration with those who are different, they do not merely survive, they thrive. And in that thriving, Elias knew humanity had found a new definition of strength, hope, and endurance.